So the next step in our tag is we've got our little circle cut out already, and that I believe is also from the tags, bags, boxes, and more. And that's going to go right over the top of the flower here. But before we do that, I have cut out, since it's the Mother's Day gift, the letters that say Mom, and those are going to be adhered to the tag. There are our letters. But I'm going to use a piece. This is a scrapbooking paper that's got some lettering. I really like the way it looked. You could use a newspaper or a page from an old textbook. Many people collect vintage papers, so if that's an option for you, that's great. I'm just going to tear a piece off and just make sure it's large enough to fit your mom words. And I'm going to be inking this page. Now this is kind of an important step to ink it first, because I did do it the opposite way, and there was white area around the mom letters, and it looked kind of funny. So ink your page, your sheet, before you put the mom on. So I'm going to just rip it this way and that way, and when you leave these white edges like that, the ink tends to collect on that white edge, so that's kind of a neat feature. And when you put the mom words on, the mom letters, you'll probably end up even tearing it down more just to make it fit on the tag, so that's okay. So again, with our ink, here's the tattered rose. I'm gonna work it around the edges and through the middle. If you really wanted a vintage look, you could crumble this piece of paper up, because then the ink would collect in the lines. Just kind of depends on what look you're going for. And you just want to be careful you don't get too crazy, because you do want to see your mom words. Another option for you, because this may be for you, maybe it's not a Mother's Day gift. Maybe it's a get well card for somebody who is in the hospital, or maybe it's just, hey, I'm glad we're friends, that kind of thing. You can use a stamp and just stamp Friends Forever. That's what this one says. Or get well soon, or a word, love. It's always nice. But if you want to change the gift up and give it to somebody else, you can have that option as well. And I think I'm pretty good with that. And we are going to take some of our Flower Soft and put our letters on. This can be a little bit tedious, but you really don't need much because they're so tiny. I'm going to push my letters down on the piece of paper and let that dry. And we'll see what it looks like. If our letters tend to be not showing up enough, you can always take a paintbrush, which we may do, dip it in the distress ink and go back over your letters, and that'll make them stand out. So it's usually a trick that works. So we'll let that dry and move on to our next step. So we've got our little tag, and we have attached to the original tag the Heidi Swap jewels and the little philosophy tags from Tim Holtz, which I've got a package open right here. And I'm going to grab my jewels from Heidi Swap. Here they are. And on the petal that's opposite from your hole that it's going to hang from, you want to use your big bite again and punch the smallest hole at the bottom. But you want to make sure that you do punch it close enough to the edge that your jewels can be adhered, or they can hang from that. So I'm going to make sure, there we go, that my smallest hole puncher is coming down, and stick that in there. And what's nice about the grunge board is that it's not going to tear, so you don't have to worry about your jewel and your charm falling off because the paper ripped. So okay, we're going to use one of the circle jewels because it has a little hole drilled at the top and one at the bottom, whereas the teardrop ones just have one at the top. And get one of these little circles. This would be another place where needle nose pliers are a really good thing to have on hand if you have a problem with keeping this little metal ring closed. But I'm just going to use my fingers and my hands. Okay, so there's the first jewel, and we're going to hang another ring and the Tim Holtz charm next. Put it through the bottom of the jewel. I love these little things, they're so cute. They just make it so much fancy, so much more fancy. And then you just want to make sure that when you put your jewel or your tag on, that it's facing the right direction. And then pinch that closed. And there it is. So my mom word has been glued on and it's dry. So it's a little bit too big for my tag though, so I'm going to rip it down like we talked about. So I'm just gonna tatter the edge this way. So we've got our mom word, and I'm gonna just throw a little more ink on there because now I have some white edges. Just be careful of the letters, like I said. If you get ink around too much around the letters, they start to look like they've got white outlines and it looks kind of funny. So just being real gentle. I'm going to take my finger because I'm having trouble getting in there on that white. Guess that's why they call it handmade. We're going to take our trusty paintbrush and just go over it with a little bit of the red and maybe some brown just to dirty it up. So I'm just going back in and lightly brushing the letters so that you can see them a little bit more. And you can even do this step after you get it all put together. And so now it's time to adhere the mom word to the center circle. My terrifically tacky tape again. I always have trouble finding that edge. And I'm going to flip that over so I know that it's going in the right spot. Put that down. Just for good measure, put another one on there. Make sure it really sticks. Peel my red backing off. And stick it down. Okay, we are just about ready to put it on. The last thing I just noticed on my original project, I did add a little grommet here at the top. So if you feel like your tag's going to rip off, you certainly can do that, just like we added grommets to the side. I'm just not going to do that for this one. So we have finished our assembly of the entire tag, the little Heidi Swap jewel, the Tim Holtz charm, the word, and the distressing and inking of the tag. And what's next is making the butterfly.